I don't give a shit.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV. Lots of cool people. Tune in. Keep it locked.
I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My Patriots, the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms. Fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't obeyed. My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you...
That was a good intro.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I mean, that's a little bit older of an intro. You guys, this is the Cowboys and Indians podcast, but I actually have to change the intro entirely because apparently it breaks the YouTube rules because we're shooting guns in it and they don't like that for some reason.
Shooting guns in that intro, bro.
Are you kidding me? That's a thing?
I don't know what it is, but every time that I use the Cowboys and Indians intro, I get banned on YouTube. I can't do it.
Maybe is it from the guns or is it from the AI song we use?
No. It says that it breaks the rules on
terms of service.
Yeah, terms of service with shooting guns. So it's one of the guns. I'm assuming it's the one where I'm shooting the Bud Light sign because it's not an approved range. And so they like if I didn't have the target in frame, I think that would nullify the rule breaking because
dude, I love our intro. I love the song. Fuck.
So do I. Well, you guys, today we have Enrique Tarrio on. He is the notorious. Are you still the leader of the Proud Boys?
The only thing I could say about that is that I'm the president of my local chapter.
How about that?
For obvious reasons, we don't talk about the leadership of the Proud Boys because obviously, if there was a new leader, then he'd be in danger of getting 22 years in prison for something.
Right.
So we've made it a policy just not to. So I could say that I am the local president of my chapter.
Yeah. First rule of the Proud Boys is you don't talk about the Proud Boys.
You don't talk about it's actually the Fight Club doctrine.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, you're adopting Antifa tactics with the way that they use their chapters all around the country in order to basically escape the law and say that they're not an actual organization. It's an idea, right?
I mean, we never, even to begin with, when I did claim the chairmanship of the group was more of an idea than an organization. You got a lot of groups, like the Oath Keepers, right? That they have like a top-down structure, kind of like a pyramid. It starts with Stuart Rhodes and then it comes down. And that's for a group that works out for and nothing against the Oath Keepers at all. Just a group that preaches minimal government, and if we turn around and like make this big governmental structure within our organization would be an oxymoron. So we've always kept it like that, and I think it works. It works for us.
Word. So I guess the way we can probably lay out this podcast, if you want to go through it with us, Enrique, kind of, pre-arrest or political persecution. And kind of maybe if you want to talk about time in incarceration, maybe some things people don't know about, and then like post pardon, kind of if you want to run it kind of like chronologically, I think we could really set
and
it
I'll do
up
it
something
short.
good.
I'll do it as short as
Yeah,
possible. And so I've been doing this. I didn't get involved in politics because of Donald Trump. I've been involved since 2004. I started, I hate saying this, but I started knocking on doors for the second George Bush.
Oh,
I know.
I won't hold it against you, bro.
But
I
then
fought for the military
again,
industrial complex, so I don't hold it against you.
then I started knocking on doors for Ron Paul, and then fast forward through the Tea Party, and then I'd say the electrification, like the Republican Party got electrified when Donald Trump got, when he just stepped into the stage. I guess like that was the electricity that the Republican Party needed. And then shortly after, I joined this group called the Proud Boys. When I joined, it was very young. We only had about 150 members in existence. And in 2018, Gavin stepped down, and I was voted in as the chairman of the Proud Boys. I'm going to pause the story there. And a lot of people ask what the Proud Boys are, and it's crazy because if you had another Proud Boy in this chair right now, he'd probably answer different than me. But the general rule is that we try to make better men. How you make better men? You make better brothers and fathers, sons, neighbors. And everybody has their way of doing things. So we're not a really focused group. Like if you run a pro-life group, right, you kind of know what your goal is. With us, all of us have different focuses. Everybody always, the reason why you know about the Proud Boys is because what the YouTube videos where you see us defending Trump supporters from like Antifa and BLM.
Right.
90% of our membership don't go to rallies. They just hang out with the boys, drink beer, and the most political thing that they've ever done is go to the ballot box and vote. Fast forward onto election, when the election was stolen. We protected Trump supporters in the streets of DC in the November rally, December rally, and we were planning on doing the same thing on January 6th. And that's that could be a whole other podcast. But regardless,
really quick, Enrique, how did you become the boogeyman of the media that you guys are a white supremacist group? Because that's how most people know the Proud Boys, is they believe that they are a white supremacist, far right-wing organization. How did that, do you know any kind of indication that was given that granted the media the ability to say something like that?
Yeah, and it comes from those videos, right? We gave them the ammo, and I'm happy to give them the ammo to do that. We defend people at rallies vigorously. We make self-defense look like assault. If you put your hands on a Trump supporter or another Proud Boy, we make sure that we will, and I don't say this in like we eliminate that threat from, and not eliminate it in a very bad way, but we make sure that doesn't happen again from that person at least. So we gave them that ammo. Now, when it comes to like the white supremacists, like the Nazi, we saw that first with Trump himself, right? And then they kind of broadened the scope, and then they brought in like Alex Jones. Alex Jones suddenly is a white supremacist. Alex Jones is suddenly a Nazi. And then now, fast forward 8 years into, the Trump movement, we see that like they call any Trump supporter any of those names. Absolutely. So it starts somewhere.
I'm called a white supremacist as well.
Yeah,
so
I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
you might be browner than me. We met at CPAC, and it's crazy that we use those terms. And like, look, I get it. I get that some people, even MAGA supporters and Trump supporters, don't like the Proud Boys because we're rough around the edges. We cuss like sailors. It's so hard for me not to like completely cuss on this show. But regardless of the fact, I get it. Like if you have like a concern, like a rational concern, I understand. we're not going to change for anybody, but I understand and I respect that. But to call us like white supremacists and Nazis, that's not true. It is not true. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you are or what your cultural background is. It doesn't matter. So,
yeah, I kind of remember the whole progression through that with, Trump. I think within the first couple of months, they called him a white supremacist. And it's kind of what they done is they kind of desensitized people or got them all on the same narrative. Because when Proud Boys would do like this and Proud of You Boy and all that other shit, they were like, and then the Stand Back, Stand By, that hoax. It's kind of like they all compiled all this. See, look, guys, look at the white supremacists. But in fact, when you guys are the complete opposite of like Antifa, the anti-fascists, the ones that are actually using fascist tactics.
Yeah, of course. And they have, and I always say this, like the left is very good with words, right? Like the word anti-fascist, like it's a cool word because, and it's a cool word to use because if you're against Antifa, then you must be a fascist, right? So they use those play on words. Another word that they use that I hate is progressive, right? Because it does, to me, it has a negative connotation, but the truth is like MAGA is progress. We're about progressing the country and making America great again. Making America great again is progress, right? So they use these words to kind of trick you into, and so they give you these word salads. So you have to argue these words that mean nothing to them. There's nothing progressive about being left wing in today's America, so regardless, I don't care. I rather, I don't want to spend my time, like if I'm arguing with somebody or trying to show them our views, like I don't want to waste my time with that. If you don't like me, you don't like me. That's fine. I don't need to like please everybody.
Correct.
And I'm okay with that.
I actually love
That's actually something that I've kind of embodied my entire life. And there was a time where I almost went into the punk crowd, the Antifa type crowd, because I assumed that they were anti-government and that at the time there was a lot of sentiments that was anti-Bush, and it was very, very, it seemed like they were actually focusing on the people. I don't know when the exact term was, because when I graduated high school, it was 2010. And I didn't really have any social media. I had a flip phone, so I wasn't up to date with any of the news or anything. I had a kid out of wedlock right out of high school. What's that?
You had a flip phone in 2010?
I had a flip phone until 2018.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I was behind the times, right? And so that's when I kind of started really paying attention. I was like, okay, I have a kid and he's starting to grow up, and I have to realize that if I don't pay attention to what's going on, then he's going to grow up in a world and I'm not helping this world be a better place for him to be raised in. And that really hit in 2020. But I almost joined that left-wing group. And I've actually said this often, is that Antifa, like the Proud Boys and Antifa are like, they're really, really close as far as what they should be fighting. But Antifa, for some reason, has adopted, and I don't know how punk was co-opted in this way to regurgitate the like communist ideology. I don't know how they got so co-opted in that way. It's actually kind of fascinating, because I feel like personally, I believe that the Proud Boys and Antifa should actually be fighting together. But there's something wrong with Antifa. Maybe it's because they don't have a vetting process, and so they just kind of allow anybody, they like celebrate everybody who joins, and so it almost allows like psychopaths to take over, whereas like the Proud Boys, you guys had like a hierarchy, a vetting process of some kind, which kind of kept those psychopaths out.
Yeah. I mean, look, it goes back to the beginning of the conversation, right? Where I said, like, we're 60% idea, 40% organization. With them, there is no organization. So the problem is that those groups can be co-opted, right? Because I remember the beginnings of the American Antifa movement, right? At least the popular movement gaining steam, and it started with Occupy Wall Street, right?
Yes,
and it started with like Black Lives Matter, in 2014 with Ferguson, right? So if you get these movements and it has an organization, it's so easy to co-opt these groups, right? Because like obviously nobody likes cops killing people, unarmed people, or for no reason, right? No, I don't think anybody agrees with that. But when you adopt it, when you adopt something so emotional, then it's easy to take over the group and be like, I'm Antifa, I'm Black Lives Matter, and these are my views, right? And we saw that with the Black Lives Matter movement, where people were getting rich off of it. We saw, I think it's still a thing. If you go to blacklivesmatter.com, right? And obviously, if you're a supporter of Black Lives Matter, right, but you don't want to do the street activism portion and you just want to give money, you go to that website and you click donate. It's at the very top, right? And this is the official like website where you see it on the giant banners as they're doing their activism on the streets. You click on that and guess where it takes you? Act Blue. And what does that fund? It funds the Democrats. And if this isn't a conspiracy theory, if it's not up right now, I'm sure you can put it on the way back machine. And as soon as you hit donate, that's where it takes you. So that's co-opting. You're seeing the establishment co-opting these movements. So it's easily co-opted. So we do have an organization. We do have a vetting structure, right? We do have an SOP of vetting. And do bad apples get in? Yes. If you have a giant organization, it'd be stupid to think that you have perfect vetting. We've had our bad apples, and we've had to state publicly, hey, these people, we kicked them out, or these people don't belong to us, because it's easy to wear this black and yellow. And we come, you mentioned punk. It was the punk movement, the Gamergate movement, and the MAGA movement in 2016 kind of got together and created what we know now as like the MAGA movement and the Proud Boys. Because if you see what we wear our Fred Perry's, right? And that's from the skinhead movement and the mods, right? We wear our black and yellow because anarchy, capitalism, but we come from those movements. Gavin McGinnis comes from the punk scene. So that's why we saw all these different cultures, like subcultures, converge into this movement. 2014, the Gamergate movement, right? Yep. That was like the online, I hate using this term, but the digital soldiers for the president at the time. Gamergate kind of took wings and turned into a political movement, and that turned into the Pepe meme, the OK symbol, and things like that. So, but yeah,
I mean the white power symbol.
White power.
Yeah.
It started off in the Chans, and we kind of co-opted it ourselves, and we're like, okay, perfect. This pisses people off. Let's do this.
That's awesome.
Us, I mean, the West is the best. The W and the B, the West is the best. Western civilization is the best civilization.
Correct.
And what we mean by that is the American system is the best. Is it flawed? Yes, of course. That's why we got Donald Trump to make it better.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of a little history on PB that I kind of didn't even really know about. So I appreciate that. So maybe tell our audience maybe something they don't know leading up to the arrest from J6 or after J6. And if you want to walk through our people through the process or whatever you can divulge, I'm not sure exactly what you can and cannot. Just kind of talk us through that.
So coming into January 6th, I think a lot of people know why I wasn't there. I got arrested for burning a Black Lives Matter banner in the streets of DC, and I was arrested as soon as I flew into DC. On January 6th, what happened, and I watched it on TV. I don't know if you guys were in DC on that day, but if you weren't, and a lot of your viewers obviously weren't, I saw it just like they did. I saw it on TV. I'm like, wow, this is crazy, and I celebrated it. Yeah, like most of America did. So at night in January 6th, when like they start announcing, oh, we're gonna make these arrests, I'm like, thank God, I'm not gonna get arrested. Little did I know that a year and change later, I'd be arrested for seditious conspiracy. And for those that don't know what seditious conspiracy, it's one level under treason. We went to trial. I was at trial posture from day one because I knew I did nothing wrong. I'm the only January 6th defendant that wasn't there. I went through a 6-month trial, which was the longest trial in the history of the District of Columbia, the ongoing trial, straight trial in the District of Columbia history. I got the longest sentence. I'm competitive, so I like being first in a lot of things. I don't think I like being first and getting the most time. And then subsequently, they tried to get me to roll on the president.
Right.
Wanted me to lie and throw the president under the bus right before the election. So he wouldn't get elected. So he'd be charged with January 6th. Because a lot of people don't know this. So the January 6th, they keep calling it the January 6th indictment, right? The DC case. He wasn't indicted for what happened on the ground that day. So it's not technically a January 6th indictment. They got him on like process crimes, like when he called Georgia, or when he tried to push certain things. That's what they got him for. They didn't get him for what happened at the Capitol that day. But if I would have lied, right, to save my own skin, they would have gotten him. They would have arrested him with possibly seditious conspiracy too. So that's what they.
You saved this fucking country, bro.
I mean, look, I think that he would have gotten.
I mean, straight up.
Anyways, I think he would have gotten voted in anyways. I mean, the guy. I mean, the country was going downhill for 4 years, but I wasn't going to roll. They told me that I wouldn't serve like another day. They'd bond me out because I was in pretrial detention, so I was in solitary confinement. They're like, hey, next week we'll have a bond hearing. We let you go. You won't serve an extra day. And I said, I don't want to use the colorful language I used, but for the most part, I told them to go kick rocks. And then, there was only after I got convicted by a member of the jury that hated me and knew who I was and told the judge that they hated me, and the judge sat him anyways. I got convicted and I got sentenced to 22 years. So there was only 3 ways out for me at that point. One of them is to beat them at appeals. And if that fails, the second way that I get out is through the Supreme Court. And we did see the Supreme Court step in for these January 6 cases and throw out one of the main felonies that they used. But the third way is the way that I wanted to get out of prison. I wanted the president to sign my pardon, and so I could walk out there with middle fingers in the air, which I did, and
nice,
get released, and winning a pardon from a president is probably harder than winning the lottery. So me being here today is amazing. And it's still not real to me that I'm free. I spent 3 years in solitary confinement almost the entire time. And like one can't, like you think about it and you're like, damn, that sucks. But one can't imagine how bad it really is. And luckily, like I saw my mom there in the intro, and that got me a little emo. Luckily, I was raised with a family that taught me patience, resilience, and loyalty. And my guy stood next to me throughout the whole process. So that's a testament of how good we accomplished that mission of making better men. Because if for the people listening that have been through the federal system, that conspiracy, if you get hit with a conspiracy and you get hit with 5 co-defendants, 4 of them are going to turn on you. And in my case, we all stood together. We all stood strong, and we fought to the end, knowing full well that our lives were on the line. A 22-year sentence isn't like, oh yeah, well I'll get out in 4 years. That's a life sentence. It's three years short of a life sentence.
That's crazy, man. And I remember pre-pardon, your mom Zuni on X was campaigning hard for President Trump to get you a presidential pardon. So your mom's amazing, by the way. If you guys are on X, I think her handle's at Zuni Tarrio, I believe.
Yes, it is. It's at Zuni Tarrio. So go ahead and follow her. But she's a gangster. You know, she was never into politics. You know, she voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. She's always been conservative.
Yeah.
But I actually like people that are honest, right? And like when in 2016, when you ask somebody, oh, who you're voting for? And they said Hillary Clinton, they'll give you the list of accomplishments, right? And that's all bullcrap. You know, I went up to my mom and I'm like, oh, who are you voting for? She's like, Hillary Clinton. I'm like, wait, you're conservative. Why are you doing that? Well, because she's a woman. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to argue with that. That's like your one, like, that's why you're voting. That's cool. But I don't like when people bullcrap me and they're like, oh, because she's great. No, she wasn't. She never was.
Right.
So in 2020, she got activated. In 2021, when I got arrested, she got activated, and she jumped in front of every camera, talked to every politician. She went to CPAC, which is crazy to me. You know, and she put the saddle on the horse and she rode it, man. She did good.
You know how much I wish I didn't have to be into politics? I despise this entire, like, constantly going to bat against the way the rhetoric that I see from the media and the rhetoric that I see from the politicians. Like, it was an actual shock. After graduating high school, I went into the workforce and I realized that all the adults kind of acted like children. They all talk behind each other's backs. They'll lie to your face. Like, the adults I was raised by were honest adults. They worked hard. They didn't break their promises, and they didn't talk behind other people's backs. So that's how I assumed the world was. And slowly but surely, I realized that at every level of our society, there's petty, pathetic, weak weasels that are being trotted out in front of the masses in order to peddle this false narrative that they're actually doing what they're saying they're doing. And it turns out that in politics in general, they haven't been doing anything for 50 plus years apart from growing our debt and enriching themselves and building government up and up. And so, like, politics in general, and this is why I actually felt like I associated with the punk movement, is because I thought that they kind of saw through that, and it sucks. I'm still frustrated that they got co-opted in the way that they did, and I hate that I'm going back to this again. But in all reality, I mean, the Proud Boys movement and the Antifa movement should be one and the same. Like, in all reality, they should be friends, but it's impossible to do that right now with how the culture is and how it's broken down over the years. But it just sucks, you know. Politics in general, commenting on it all the time, it sucks because the politicians don't hold up their end of the deal, and you're trying to, like, even when I was championing Donald Trump, you know, it is so difficult for somebody like Trump to go in and dismantle this system that has been built over decades and decades against the American people.
It's starting for you.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm in the same boat too. Like, I'm kind of like politically exhausted because there hasn't been any accountability. And for anybody that's listening out there, there's no such thing as a Democrat or Republican Party. They are the fucking same. These uniparty scumbags, all they're doing is just they're never going to pass term limits. They're never going to secure a border because they need something to talk about every 2 to 4 years. They're going to enrich themselves. The USAID money, dude, it's a disgusting cesspool in Washington, D.C. that our founding fathers, you know what they'd be doing right now. But I'm just going to say, like, you mentioned George Bush and canvassing for him. And me serving, in the military, unfortunately under Obama, I served the military industrial complex, and I know what all that's about. And these, these huge war companies making tons and tons of money. Dude, it's just disgusting coming back to this and seeing our country how it is. So I'm praying to God that Donald Trump and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they could really crack down and get this shit over with.
Yeah, and to touch on the subject of black pilling, right? So, we speak about politics a lot, right? And the moment, and it's a phase, because when you first start it, you get passionate, and then you start your eyes open up, and that's when you take that red pill and you understand, what the truth is. Like the veils unleashed, and you'll never go back to not talking about politics, because politics is everything. This coffee cup, how it was imported. I don't know if it came from China. I don't know if it's American. It doesn't say anything. So these cigarettes, the taxes, like you could talk about politics when you just look around your room right now, and everything that you see has some type of lobbying or tariff or some type of political implication. So you never go back. Now, when you start enjoying it again, and it might take a little while, is when you understand that there's some things you can't change, right? Like, example, we championed for Donald Trump to be the president because, we feel like he's going to fix the country. But what happens in 2028 when we don't have Trump? Will they steal another election? Will it go back? And then you go back to the three branches of government, and the president is doing what he promised to do, and he's doing a fantastic job of it. The problem is that Article 1, Congress, isn't codifying his executive orders or his agenda. So the next president, if they steal the election again, because I don't think that genuinely they'll win in 2028, they could, at the stroke of a pen, they could undo everything that the president has done in 4 years. And that's a real red pill. We have this AI. This is the last little thing I'm going to give you. We have this AI boom that's happening now. And I truly believe that, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous to go, but we can't stop, because if we stop, we're going to fall behind the Chinese and other countries that are building up their AI technology. And it is the future. Crypto and AI is the future, unfortunately. And it will be the doom of humanity. But we can't stop. So when you accept that black pill and you just understand that you're trying to do the best that you can, then you will feel good about what you're doing, and then you'll feel great. But again, like the world, not just the country, the world is not going in the right direction. And that's just the reality. And I hate to drop the black pill, but it's true.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's hard to
argue. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I guess the best way to stay on top of it, obviously, is to really stay in front of it. Speaking of AI, there's this like new Google AI thing that just came out, and some of the videos are crazy.
Yeah, they're wild.
Like crazy real. I don't know if you guys have seen that new Google one, but it's kind of crazy. But anyways, so since being released, post pardon, how's your life changed? What are there anything new developing that you can discuss, or kind of give us an idea what's going on?
Yeah, and let me give one more example before I jump into that topic. Right, so like I saw this, and you guys have seen this all week. You saw ICE raiding like construction sites, right? And they were arresting illegals, right? And I'm for it. I'm 100% for it. And then people were complaining. They're like, "Oh, well, now there's more jobs open," right? And here's another black pill. Gen Z is not going to take those jobs. because a lot of them have become lazy and complacent, right? And they rather do other things than get their hands dirty. I want them to be deported. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anything. It says the American culture right now is lazy. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping Gen Z picks it up and goes, you know what? I'm going to get my hands dirty. I'm going to learn how to use a drill. I'm going to learn how to use a concrete mixer, and then I'm going to build. So like you're in this dilemma where it's not really a dilemma. I think again, I'm on the side of deporting all of them. Steve Miller said today that to go to 7-Elevens and go to Home Depots, and I'm okay. I'm good with that. Let's do it, right? But who's gonna take those jobs? American culture right now has been down the drain for so long that I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping the next generation of Americans take those jobs, you know. And then to tell you what we're now to hit the question is I'm doing a lot of things right now. We started a podcast network. It's called the War Boy Studios, and it runs. The goal is to have 24 hours of content, and we have right now 14 shows running. We also started 1776.shop up again, and it's kind of like the Amazon for conservative merchandise. So like there's a whole bunch of different vendors. They're all verified conservatives. But beyond those projects, when we met at Steve, all three of us met at CPAC. The reason why we went to the Capitol and did press conference is because we announced that we are taking steps to sue the DOJ for the injustice that happened to us as J6ers.
Right on.
We're on the verge of filing very, very soon, because we need retribution and we need retaliation. And what does that mean? That means accountability. The people that did this to us and the people that weaponize our government need to pay. They made us suffer. We need to make them pay. Not only go ahead.
Not only that, because I agree with what you just said there, but the system in which it was possible for them to do it needs to be exposed so it can be dismantled.
Yes.
Yeah, torn down.
It needs to. It needs to be exposed. And, look, my loyalty to the president is 100%. I support the president in everything he wants to do. That loyalty does not pass on to his appointees. And I think that he's like this is like the Avengers. He's Nick Fury when he picked his appointees. And I'm very happy with almost all of them. I think Pam Bondi, I've given up on her. With Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, I do have patience. I really do have patience, and I'm hoping that soon we start seeing the results of it. I haven't turned on them at all, but I do think that time is of the essence. Midterms are around the corner. Congress hasn't done
Agreed.
And we need to start. We only got a couple years to get this right, but I think his appointees have done an excellent job. Very happy with Tulsi Gabbard. Very happy with RFK. I'm very happy with Kristi Noem, even though she does all her makeup and all that. She's deporting, so she's okay to do whatever she wants in my book. All the photo ops, as long as she's doing her job. Alina Habba,
but she killed a puppy when she was a kid.
Oh God, get out of here! To be honest, man, I'm not going to give up. I'm not giving up, at least on Dan Bongino right now. So I don't know if you knew this, Enrique, but I got swatted about 2.5 months ago here at my house, and I wrote to Dan on X on his personal account, obviously not the government account. He reached back out to me and he said, "Sorry to hear that, man. Just reach out to your local FBI office, and if there's anything you need, reach out to me. I'm going to be watching this case." So he didn't have to do that.
He is when it comes to that, he is doing an excellent job. I do have my little criticisms, like they shouldn't have appointed Steve Jensen to the to be the head of the DC Washington field office. But like I separate those things. I'm like, okay, well, I disagree with you there, but he's not doing a bad job. And yeah, it looked like Brianna is doing did a lot of reporting on, you know, these swatting things. And I think that I'm so inclined to call her Judge Janine Pirro. But U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro of the D.C. branch just announced today that they secured a plea, a guilty plea off somebody that was doing swatting. So I think in general, and yeah, I'm with you on that, Steve. Like I'm not giving up on Bongino and Cash at all. You know, I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Also, one thing that they've been doing is weeding out the rats that are in the FBI, that are embedded in there, right? Yeah. So they've been finding leakers. They've been, and this is something I actually just learned today, is that they've been basically finding various ways to weed out the leakers, and so they have been weeding out various people at the FBI and kind of getting rid of a lot of those people, because it is extremely difficult just to make things happen from the top down when you have a bunch of disloyal people, and or people that are actively trying to sabotage what you want to be done. You know, and I mean, like they were talking about this with the Epstein files, how they found boxes like tucked away in an area that weren't filed properly, and it's not technically a crime because the boxes were just misplaced, but how much do you want to bet that those boxes were placed there intentionally to be hidden, right? It is that kind of sabotage that can really bring down what Cash and Dan Bongino are trying to do. So from what I understand is that there's a weeding process happening right now, and that does take time before they can make a lot of these big sweeping moves that they want to make.
I think, look, I on my last show last week, I did the math, and my patience does have a limit, right? I put a date on it. I put the date of August 3rd. On August 3rd, if we don't start seeing a good amount, I'm not saying like he needs to fill a prison.
Martial law. Let's do it.
By August 3rd, I need to, even though I would love it, but by August 3rd, if we're not getting these people that weaponize the government against Donald Trump and his supporters, that then at that point, then I would turn. And the reason why I picked August 3rd is because March 3rd of next year is when officially primary season starts. Right.
Bingo.
So we're already, I'm going to drop another black pill here. With how ineffective Congress has been this session, and I think it's been like one of the most ineffective Congresses that we've seen, 119th Congress. I think we're going to lose the midterms. We're going to lose the House. I believe we're going to lose the House if they don't start passing these laws and going with Trump's agenda. We're going to lose the House if we don't start seeing these arrests. I didn't vote for cheaper eggs, even though eggs are a lot cheaper now. I didn't vote for, and technically I didn't vote because I was in prison, but we didn't vote. I'm just going to use the MAGA movement didn't support Trump because he was going to make eggs cheaper. We supported him because he was going to make America great again, and he was going to stop the weaponization of government. We voted for retribution. We voted for retaliation for what we saw of 4 years. The eggs are a plus. Cheap eggs are a plus. And we're going to feel it if Trump's agenda doesn't start getting codified and put through the House and its respective committees. You're going to see us fail. And then if that happens, mark my words, within 60 days of a Democratic Congress, they're going to vote to impeach. The Senate's is never going to convict them. Let's be honest about that. But they will vote to impeach multiple times. So
deja vu.
That's why August 3rd for me is the cutoff, at least for those two department heads. Congress, I've already pretty much, Mike Johnson, I've pretty much given up on.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick, we're 45 minutes into the show. We do have to give a shout out to our sponsor. So I'm gonna roll the commercial, you guys, from thefarm.org. Check this out.
Since 2017, 150,000 farms have shut down. Working farmland has been reduced by 21 million acres. The system has been crippling the remaining farmers, forcing some to adopt nefarious farming techniques, like pumping hormones and other performance-enhancing drugs into their cows so they can survive in crammed feedlots. Or the farmers are forced to jump ship and sell to land-hoarding, profit-chasing agricultural oligarchies, who use their billions of dollars to crush the competition and increase your family's dependence on their manufactured food. What could possibly go wrong? The family farm will soon be a thing of the past, unless you do something. You can. That's why there's From the Farm, an industry-disrupting platform that connects consumers directly with local farmers, which means you can buy fresh, non-factory farm food, and you'll know exactly where your food came from and how it was raised. For the first time in nearly 100 years, independent farms will have a way to not only survive, but thrive. From the Farm was founded by A.J. Richards, an active homesteader, and Brooke Entz, a CrossFit Games athlete and an Amazonian warrior in the movies Wonder Woman and Justice League. She clearly has a passion for healthy food and a healthy lifestyle. And since both AJ and Brooke come from generations of ranchers and farmers, they know what they're talking about. We can't do this alone. We need the strength of the American people behind us. Help us build a new food system that combines the wisdom of the past with the technology of the future. Investing in From the Farm isn't just a financial decision. It's an investment into our future, our small family farms, and our food sovereignty. Invest today.
You guys visit fromthefarm.org. This is actually a game changer in how we buy food, digest food, and just support the American people. Because in all reality, we've been fed meat from overseas. We don't know the hormones that they've been using, and they've been slowly poisoning us for years, if not decades. And in order to take that kind of control back, we have to support the American people. We have to support American farmers. Visit fromthefarm.org and check it out.
I'm Enrique Tarrio, and I support this message.
I kind of want to I kind of want to continue a little bit more about midterms, because Enrique, you're spot on with this. This midterm cycle is going to be probably just as important as the presidential election. On our last podcast, me and Maurice have been really kind of talking about this a lot, and how much infiltration the government has on restricting our rights. And a lot of people right now are super upset that things aren't happening fast, right? So I brought up the point to Maurice. I told him, how long ago was the Patriot Act signed? And 21 years ago, right after 9/11. Whenever that happened, or 24 years ago. I'm originally from Louisiana. Did I say 21? Shit, I don't know. My math sucks. But anyways,
24.
So since then, it hasn't just been the Patriot Act of them infringing on our rights, right? And that's I just use that as a reference point. I mean, we can talk all the way back to 1913 and the Federal Reserve and all that stuff, but how much it's going to take so much to take down the deep state and how much they have infringed on our rights that honestly, if Congress doesn't get off their ass, like you were talking about, and start codifying like Doge and all these other things, it's going to be bad at midterms. And, honestly, rightfully so, because like Speaker Johnson, that dude has got to go. He is the worst Speaker of the House besides Paul Ryan. But yeah, dude, I 100% agree with you on midterms and primary season. There are organizations that are out there right now that are trying to hold some of these people accountable, like Rhino Removal Project. I'm part of them, and we're really, trying to start up a grassroots organization to start, primarying some of these people. They're at least on the federal level, at least a dozen that have got to go, like Lindsey Graham being number one.
Well, and it's bringing attention. It's bringing attention to the uniparty, which is what the entire MAGA movement is actually about. That's the reason Donald Trump was elected, is because he was an outsider. Mm-hmm. And Republicans have been failing to hold up their end of the deal. Republicans have been speed bumps for decades for the Democrats. The Republicans nowadays are, I mean, they're literally all Democrats from the 90s, right? There hasn't been ideals that have been like there hasn't been a line drawn where they said you're not allowed to go past this, period, end of story. There is no debate. We've always just been compromising and compromising and compromising, and then eventually we're 100 steps back from where we should be, and we have many rights given up. And Donald Trump is the one that is supposed to be coming in and having with the people voting in the House, the Senate. I mean, we are supposed to have everything to enforce this agenda and codify this MAGA agenda, which is to start regaining ground and not just be the speed bump and the temporary blockage for Democrats to keep enforcing their progressivism.
Yeah.
Communism.
You know, and that's why putting some of these people at these posts is important. Like, example, like I think Matt Gaetz would have been a buzzsaw, you know, as AG. You know, I do have, you know, my criticisms, but again, like I know myself, and I know what a basic criticism is, and then like somebody that I just completely don't want in office. But he would have been a stick of dynamite into the DOJ, which was needed, right? And I think that coming into midterms, it's very important to focus. You know, I started as a door knocker. We'll go back to that. I started as a door knocker. I've been a campaign manager. I've always worked locally. In the district that I live in, I've knocked on every single door in this district multiple times over. You know, I was part of the Tea Party when it started. I would go out. I'd hold from holding signs on the street to being a campaign manager for some local elected, and obviously some of them failed, but for the most part, it starts at a local level, and people don't know how easy it is to take over your local REC. You know, it's so easy. You can knock on doors on the weekend and become a committeeman. We did it. New York Times ran a story down here, and they thought it was like big news. The Proud Boys take over Miami REC. How did we do that? We started in 2018. We started seeing seats that were weak. We started putting our guys in, and they started knocking on doors. And surprise, they won by huge margins because they thought, oh my God, we have to knock on doors every weekend. And they did. And surprisingly, they won by large margins. And the Proud Boys took over the local REC down here in Miami. So it starts local. And then some members, like you say, Lindsey Graham's got to go. But also knowing the reality.
Even though Trump endorses him. I don't know why. I don't understand it.
100%. But his endorsement, let me not even say that. Lindsey Graham's got to go. But you also got to face the reality of a Senate campaign and the money machine. So you have to get the right candidate, and everybody's got to back that candidate without the stupid infighting, right? Because a baked potato with a mega hat on is going to be better than Lindsey Graham. Tom's got to go too, and then anybody that voted that's going to vote against this codifying of Doge, those people got to go too, you know. So it's about getting good candidates. It's about good financial backing. You know, we hate big corporations and stuff getting on it, but we need to start playing on their battlefield, because we're playing the moral high ground, and we shouldn't. We should never do that. We should play to win, you know. As brash as my good friend Roger Stone is, he's very in tune with what it takes to win, and the win at all costs mentality. And I think that's something that a lot of people should adopt locally.
Yeah, that's kind of like a Steve Bannon approach. It's win first and then sort out the traitors later.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mo.
You know who the traitors are, so it should be. Well, go ahead.
I wanted to say, somehow we're already 56 minutes into this show, and Jerome,
we're just getting started.
Well, yeah. I know, but he brought up an interesting comment is that Trump actually reposted or retruthed rather the idea that Joe Biden is a clone. What do you think of that, Enrique?
So, I haven't gone into I have truth, but it's I haven't really logged in, or I don't know what you call it, tweeted or posted on truth. So, but I think that somebody was breaking it down, and don't quote me on this because I just saw it like on a screenshot. I think that he retruthed. Is that the word for it?
Yes.
Yeah. I think he retruthed the picture, and then the comments in the bottom I think come from the Babylon Bee. I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, I do find it funny that he said that Joe Biden isn't running the country and it's like a clone. I've had, if you follow me on Twitter, I've had these little wars with these little I'd say anti-Trump QAnon people. And
the woke right.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not even like, this is a crazy, and I wouldn't even call them right. They have this giant conspiracy theory, and then every time Trump like posts something, like in the little corner is like a little Q or Pepe the Frog, and then suddenly Pepe the Frog is Q. Is like associated with Q. Like I'm old school Trump supporter, dude. Like Pepe the Frog was just fucking great, and it was this funny thing. It wasn't a Q thing.
We memed him into office in 2016. That's how we won.
We did. I remember.
You think Q's a psyop?
What I think Q's definitely a psyop. I think it's a complacency campaign. It makes people lazy. It
trust the plan or whatever.
Listen, if you meet a real, I don't know if you've ever met like a real Q supporter, right? I met probably the wildest one time that said like the COVID vaccine had nano machines in it that turn you into a 5G antenna so you could control the minds of the people around you. Like he was dead. I pulled out my phone. I'm like, wait, stop right here. And I'm like, can you say that again, please? And I think it's a complacency campaign. And I'm not a researcher. I don't sit there. I'm not a nerd that sits there all day and like researches everything. I use common sense, right? And I see things from that perspective. But I do see that Q movement itself to be like a giant troll that just grew teeth and grew wings.
Yeah, I've heard so many theories on who they thought Q was. I've heard Mike Flynn. I heard Kash Patel was Q. Trump Q plus.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Don Jr.
Donald Trump himself. But the funny thing is that the Q guys that I'm arguing with, because I enjoy it. I love having my Twitter back, bro. And like on Twitter, you got to have a target. You know what I'm saying? And then like suddenly I didn't even know these people existed. And I start seeing the comments that I'm part of like this Flynn network, right? And the Flynn network consists of General Flynn being against Donald Trump, and then Roger Stone and Ivan Reichland and everybody. And like
there's that crowd.
Yeah. And then I'm starting to see the comments. I'm like, okay, these are the perfect targets. These idiots are the perfect target. So I start arguing with
the bear a little bit.
And it's crazy because they thought that Flynn was Q. And then suddenly Flynn's like, no, this is all bullcrap. This is not real. And then suddenly they turn on Flynn. They're like, oh no, he was never Q. He's been anti-Trump the whole time. He started, and they call it the Flynn-surrection. So somehow General Flynn and Roger Stone concocted the coup, the insurrection. They use the same words as the left. This insurrection against, so they can make Trump look bad. Right? When listen, I've seen a lot of footage. I've had access to files that were classified in my case. It was a protest that went wrong. Were there feds in the crowd that instigated it? I'm 100% sure of that. I saw it. I saw it in the videos. But to say that like your regular average Trump supporter was part of this giant conspiracy with General Flynn It didn't happen. And to
Yeah,
say
no.
that,
That idea is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like, okay, so January 6th, this is the way I see it, is that our letter agencies have been enacting regime changes and revolutions overseas for decades. They have the formula down in order to incite a crowd to do something untoward, correct? And this is probably not too, like, I'm not getting super conspiratorial here. If this was thought up by our letter agencies, what they could do is just allow the opportunity to happen and then have a couple of instigators and then mob mentality kicks in. I mean, it's not that complicated of an idea to enact something like this and to have it happen. And then to have the visual of people waving American flags. I mean, people probably saw that and they were like, yeah, it's just incredibly excited. Like, I remember seeing that and I had a little bit mixed feelings at the time. Like, I was like, shit, I know exactly what the media is going to say about this, but at the same time, it is kind of cool, right? Yeah. But it's just it was a concoction probably by our letter agencies. It's not some super conspiracy where MAGA supporters and we're like in on it in this way. It's like, no, people can be controlled easily. I don't know if you ever seen that experiment that like, I mean, it is maybe that's not going to be a good example, so I won't even bring it up. But people can be controlled. And if you believe that you are beyond that, I mean, one of the ways that you can defend yourself against it is to be skeptical of everything and buying into these ideas that Q brings up all the time, this fan fiction material that they're constantly writing every single day. That is more than likely going to get you into trouble than not.
Yeah. And to think that this is the blue anon conspiracy, right? And what's funny is that the prosecutors in our case actually used the blue anon theory to try to convince the jury that I was guilty of seditious conspiracy. So check this out. Check out how crazy this is. December 12th, I burn a BLM banner, right? On purpose. So I would be arrested on January 6th, an event that wasn't even like in anybody's radar until December 19th that Trump tweeted it, the be there, the famous be there, be wild tweet. So somehow I knew about this event before anybody, because I did go to the White House on December 12th, on the morning of that rally. I went for a Christmas tour, right? The president wasn't even in the house. So somehow I went there, and then they had that meeting with Sidney Powell, Patrick Byrne, and I think Mike Lindell or somebody on the night of December 19th, right, with Trump. And somehow I communicated with the president, and the president told me that I have to storm the Capitol that day. And then January 6th happens, and I send people to storm the Capitol, but I get arrested because I had already pre-planned this shit on December 12th with the president in the White House, which wasn't in the White House.
Well, that's deep.
and that was originally the blue anon conspiracy. So this QAnon crowd have gotten this, and they've turned it, and they use the same exact terms as the left. And I don't think, and people are like, oh, well, they're just a big giant psyop. No, like, we need to remember that retards exist, right? and they are out there, and there's people that follow retards, which makes them even more retarded. So the only thing that you can, and you always got to be, and you're right, Maurice, you're 100% right. You have to be skeptical about everything, because I do believe that there was 3 letter agencies involved in instigating what happened that day, and we've seen it. And the from the yellow glove man at the first breach, as they call it, or the man with the black bullhorn, or the man with the tattoos on his face that was never arrested. So there's so many things, but the truth is, right there, I keep it basic. Michael Byrd murdered Ashley Babbitt.
Yes.
If anything,
probably because he's a coward.
Yeah, no, he is a coward, and he's still walking. You know something I have never been able to verify? Did he get pardoned? Pre-pardoned? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes. People say no.
I don't think so. I don't remember his name coming up. I just know that they never really pressed charges against him because it was like
correct.
You want me to?
I don't think he was part of the pardons.
Yeah.
Well, it was 86 people.
You want me to back off of my dislike of Pam Bondi? It's very easy. You know, Congresswoman Luna, she put in a proposal to hold Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress, right? Something that was Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro were found guilty for.
Correct.
And served 90 days in a federal prison. It's so easy. You have that on your desk. You could revisit it, make a decision on it, and it's within the statute of limitations. Put him in prison for 3 months. I'm not asking you to lock him forever. I'm asking you do the same thing that you did, that the Biden administration did to Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, and lock up Merrick Garland. You know, that one's easy. Based. We don't need an investigation. The referral's there. And the crime is, and this is how both prosecutors presented the Peter Navarro case and the Steve Bannon case. They sat in front of the jury. They're like, this is like a parking ticket. You came, you parked, you got a ticket on your car. The car's there, right? And you refused to pay the ticket. So obviously you pay the fine plus the late fee. It's just as easy. You were asked to produce documents. You did not. You're guilty of contempt of Congress. It's a slam dunk case. If I was Merrick Garland, I wouldn't even take it to trial. I'd be like, hey, yeah, I'm guilty, because you know you're going to lose. But it's also the District of Columbia.
Could you imagine the media coming out and said the fascism is starting? He's finally doing it. He's locking up his political opponents. It's the end of the world. Everybody riot. It would kick off a lot of shit. I'm just saying.
No matter what Trump does. Go ahead. Sorry, dude. Fuck.
Sorry, Steve. Obviously, we know that that's not true. But I'll be like, yeah, all right, here you go, bro. Like, take it. You know, take it. This is justice, you know. And that congresswoman that assaulted that, and I find it so poetic. That's why I love Alina Habba. She charged him with the same charge that most January 6ers had, which is a 111A, right? Impeding a federal officer from doing his duties. It's not assault on a police officer, but it is impeding. And J6ers got anywhere from 3 years to 7 years for that charge. So the congresswoman should do 3 to 7 years for that charge. I mean, these things are all so easy. Alina Habba is doing a really good job as a.
Yeah, she's awesome.
But I am going to tell you my favorite appointment. His name's Ed Martin.
We're mutuals. He's awesome.
He's active on Twitter. He knows the situation. He knows the problems, and he hasn't changed. You know, he's always been like a suit and tie guy, but he hasn't changed. So he is my favorite by far appointment.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, Enrique, this was.
We could talk for like another hour. This is so easy.
I could be here.
I know.
I do podcasts for like 4 hours. I don't know how people watch it. I don't know how you guys could, like, viewers that watch my podcast. I don't know how you could put up with me for 4 hours, but hey, but I could do it for 4 hours.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I would like to have you back on at some point. We'll have to schedule it again. Get a little bit more in depth in this. I mean, it is so incredible just seeing over and over again. I mean, you're not the first person that I've experienced this with, where the media will tell you one thing about who this person is, this big old white supremacist, scary boogeyman, you know. And now, granted, I had on, I kind of wondered how this would come across, because I had on a Seattle detransitioner yesterday on the podcast, who's recently gotten the attention of Antifa. I mean, he was doxxed and like not good, right? They're like going after him hard. And so I brought him on and he told his story. And then the next day it's like, oh, we got Enrique and Tarrio on too. Yeah. So, and I'm you know, I don't live too far from Seattle. I've already been doxxed and swatted, and it's like, you know, I'm well armed and I have defenses set up that you know, I'm not too worried about it, but I know that I'm in the, dude, I live in Washington State, man. It's a crapshoot over here. Yeah. But you know, I'm glad you came on, man. I really appreciate the conversation. It sucks that I feel like I have to end it, you know, but you know, this was a good conversation, man. I would love to have you back on at some point.
Marie, Steve, you guys can have me back on whenever you guys want. I'm available to you guys. You guys are, to me, you guys are brothers. And let me tell you, like, there's nothing extreme about my views. You know, the most extreme view I hold is there's 22,000 laws in this gun laws in this country, and I think 22,000 are unconstitutional. Yes, and if that makes me extreme, by all means, let's go. But and
that's why we have those guns.
Yeah, I don't believe in violence, and I don't care. I'm going to say this again. I don't care what race, religion, or cultural background you come from. You know, you think the West is the best, and we welcome you with open arms. So I appreciate you guys for really having me on. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for
it's fun, man.
This podcast. It was fun. Next one we'll do like 3-4 hours though.
Hey, we could do that.
All right.
We just got to schedule the time. Probably on the weekend.
I'll get a couple Celsius energy drinks.
Great, man.
Go off.
About to get a Red Bull right
now.
Well,
hey, you know what? Maybe we'll just do it on a Friday and just have a couple beers and go down some conspiracy rabbit holes that are nice and fun to go down.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
dude. That'd be a lot of fun. Well, Steve, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I guess one of the things I wanted to point out, and I'm going to close with this: January 6th was a conspiracy from the government, and this is my opinion that it was the Democrats and the Republicans working together to take down Donald Trump, and we're seeing it day by day. This is the case.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I don't want to keep talking, but
I know, dude. I'm like.
We had so much energy. If you go back to that time, we had so much energy, right? We were able to put boots on the ground and protest something that we didn't like. So going into the eventual Biden presidency, right? Because I knew they weren't going to. There was no way that Biden was going to release the stranglehold that he had, and January 6th kind of slowed that down, you know, to the point where people are afraid to go out. People are afraid to get. So here's my last message to your viewers. The country's at stake, and what it takes to fix it is for you guys to get off your ass when it comes to midterms and knock on doors, pass out flyers, work the polls, not like a stripper, and start electing people that want to make America great again. And if it's in you, put your name on the ballot and make those changes that we have been preaching since 2016. Okay. So you can't make changes just on social media. This is how we network. But at the end of the day, you need to, on March 3rd, 2026, you need to get off those screens and you need to work. You need to put in the work because America depends on it.
Beautiful, beautiful sentiment to end on. And really quick, where can people find you, Enrique?
So you could find me right here on X. I know this is probably streaming in other places, but on X you could find me. My handle is Noble1, spelled out ONE. You could also find our podcast network at Warboy Studios. And to support me financially, just I don't accept donations, but you could buy our products right on 1776.shop.
Beautiful.
Word.
Beautiful. All right, you guys, we'll be back Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Texas time. Central
right.
Mountain Time. I don't know, whatever you call it. Whatever you Texans call it down there. But God bless you guys. God bless America. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this podcast. Get the word out. And Enrique, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to having you on again.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Steve.
Peace.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV. Lots of cool people. Tune in. Keep it locked.
Know where I stand. I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My patriots the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms. Fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't obeyed. My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.